This page is the cover of the June 2000 issue of 64Dream magazine, dedicated to the Nintendo 64. The main feature is a double interview focusing on The Legend of Zelda, Majora's Mask, and Card Hero. The cover also promotes anticipated new titles and strategy guides, mentioning Mario Tennis 64, Shiren the Wanderer 2, known internationally as Mystery Dungeon, Shiren the Wanderer 2, Resident Evil 0, Kirby 64, The Crystal Shards, and Power Pros Baseball 2000. A centerfold strategy guide for Zelda. Majora's Mask is highlighted. Promotions include a prize giveaway of Mario and Luigi telephone cards for 500 lucky readers, and a special Everyone service offer for Zelda telephone cards. The cover art depicts Link riding Epona. This page is an advertisement for the Nintendo 64 game Ide Yosuke's Mahjong Classroom. It showcases professional Mahjong player Yosuke Ide and highlights features of the game including in-game advice, character expressions, and attitudes to read opponents, and the ability to learn pro Mahjong techniques. Screenshots display in-game scenes with characters playing Mahjong. The game is priced at 5,800 yen. This page showcases an advertisement for the Game Boy Color game Rayman 2, The Dark Conspiracy. It highlights the game as a fantasy action-adventure, where the evil Mr. Dark has stolen the fairy's power and plunged the world into darkness. Players control Rayman, exploring diverse maps, battling over 50 types of monsters, rescuing fairies, and gaining magic power to defeat Mr. Dark. The advert also lists a scheduled release date of March 2000 and mentions it's a Game Boy Color exclusive using a 32 MB ROM cartridge, displaying in-game screenshots showcasing different stages such as a jungle stage, sky stage, rock stage, and a mysterious underground stage. It emphasizes the deep story and varied stages of the game and asks if players can clear it all. This page is an advertisement for a game strategy guidebook titled Master the Techniques, Strongest Game Victory Strategy Compendium. This guide boasts 5,824 practical techniques and covers multiple consoles including PlayStation 2, PlayStation, Saturn, Dreamcast, Nintendo 64, Game Boy, and WonderSwan. It is advertised as the Spring 2000 edition and priced at 990 yen. This page is the contents page for volume 45 of 64Dream magazine, June 2000. It highlights key articles and game coverage within the issue. The main features include a Nintendo World Header interview, a special feature on The Legend of Zelda, Majora's Mask, and a focus on Mario Tennis 64. The contents list also mentions previews and articles for Shiren the Wanderer 2, Oni Invasion, Shiren Castle, Kirby 64, The Crystal Shards, Resident Evil 0, Professional Fishing Bass, Fishing No. 1, Determined Edition, and Doraemon 3. The game index on the right side lists a variety of N64 games covered in this issue, along with page numbers. Some of the highlighted games include Bass Fishing, F-Zero X Expansion Kit, Ojaru Maru, Card Hero, Giant Dodon Liberation Front, Big Chachiko Great Assembly, Pocket Family Computer TV Fun Club, Sakura Wars GB, Real Pro Baseball 2000, The Legend of Zelda, Majora's Mask, Hey Kitten, Dino Breeder 4, Doraemon 3, Japan Pro Golf Tour 64, Ninja Taro Kids 64 Game Gallery, Mushi Fishing 64, Shiren the Wanderer 2, Beyblade Fighting Tournament, Kirby 64, Mario Tennis 64, Mistar Tiller, and Metarot 3. The page also includes sections on reader submissions, Q&A, news, rankings, software catalogs, event information, and columns like Dream Drunker and Rokuyan Dream Diary. There's also information on presents for readers. This N64 release calendar previews upcoming games, noting a decline in new announcements but promising quality titles. Recently released is Mario Tennis 64, a sports game praised for its accessibility. The Legend of Zelda. Majora's Mask is highlighted as a highly anticipated title, releasing in a week and potentially requiring pre-orders due to expected demand. Upcoming releases include Bass Rush, Fishing, April 28th, Power Pros Baseball 2000, Baseball, April 29th, Idiyusuke Meijin no Mahjong Jisenran, Mahjong, April 21st, and The Legend of Zelda, Majora's Mask, April 27th. The monthly calendar for May features Game Boy releases, including Gamecom 21, and the next issue of the magazine, 64Dream. Later in the month, Master Angler for N64 will release alongside several Game Boy titles such as Ojarumaru, The Mischief Maker, Chase HQ, Puzzle Bobble, and Charging Card GB, Bikuriman 2000. This page showcases the reader-selected anticipated new titles top 20 and the selling N64 software top 10 rankings. In the anticipated games ranking, The Legend of Zelda: Majora's Mask takes the top spot, followed by Kirby 64, The Crystal Shards. Other highly anticipated titles include Mystery Dungeon, Furai no Shiren 2, Mother 3, Super Mario RPG 2, which would become Paper Mario, GameCube Powerful Pro Baseball 2000, Biohazard Zero, also known as Resident Evil Zero, Perfect Dark, Fire Emblem 64, which was likely in development at the time, and possibly referencing what would later be Fire Emblem on GBA, and F-Zero X expansion kit. The editorial comment section mentions the popularity of Furai no Shiren 2, reaching third place, and discusses the anticipation for Mother 3 and the upcoming Mario RPG 2, which is Paper Mario. The selling N64 software top 10 chart is topped by Kirby 64, The Crystal Shards. Following in the top 10 are popular titles like Mario Party 2, Donkey Kong 64, Super Smash Bros., Itoi Shigesato's Bass Fishing No. 1 Definitive Edition, Custom Robo, GoldenEye 007, Gauntlet Legends, Bomberman Hero, and Mario Kart 64. The page presents Nintendo-related rankings from reader polls and internet searches. March rankings from Nintendo Power show Fire Emblem, Thracia, 776 topping the SFC list, and Super Mario Bros. Deluxe leading the GB chart. A poll regarding N64 console color preferences favored clear blue, followed by midnight blue and black. An April Nintendo All-Star character ranking placed Link at number 1, followed by Mario and Kirby. The article notes the strong influence of Smash Bros. On character popularity. An internet search hit number ranking, using the GU search engine, also ranked Link first, exceeding 2 million hits, indicating widespread popularity even outside of the Zelda series. This page is focused on the Nintendo 64 game Mario Tennis 64. It announces Mario's return to the N64 with a brand new generation of tennis game, following the previous Mario Golf 64 title. The game is described as having simple controls using A-B button combinations, making it easy for anyone to pick up and play. It highlights the 4-player battle mode as the definitive way to play tennis games, and mentions that Camelot, the developers of Mario Golf 64, also created this title. The article also points out that the game is compatible with the Vibration Pack and the 64GB pack, and questions what kind of hidden features and Mario-style surprises are included. Screenshots show Mario and Luigi playing tennis, with Peach and Toad also visible in the game. This page introduces the mysterious new character, Waluigi, making his debut in Mario Tennis on the N64. The article points out his resemblance to Luigi, but with a W instead of an L, suggesting he is a bad Luigi. His relationship with Wario is also questioned, and the page expresses excitement about how Waluigi will fit into the Mario universe. Screenshots showcase dynamic gameplay, with Luigi diving for a serve, Yoshi stretching for a sideline ball, and Wario hitting a powerful volley. The game seems to offer direct and engaging tennis action, and the article wonders about the variety of courts available, hoping for grass and clay options. Overall, the page generates anticipation for Waluigi's arrival and the exciting gameplay of Mario Tennis. The next page is about Mario Tennis on the Nintendo 64, emphasizing how easy it is to perform various shots with simple controls. The page features screenshots showcasing gameplay, including Wario serving, Peach's serve, and Mario and Luigi playing doubles against other characters. It mentions Wario's style is suited for serve and volley, while Peach has a graceful serve. The game is described as visually engaging, and different court surfaces, such as clay courts, which may affect the ball bounce, are also highlighted. This page is focused on the game Mario Tennis 64. The headline translates to, Waluigi, New Type of Tennis. The page introduces Waluigi as a new character in the game, describing him as a cunning and smart style player, contrasting him with Wario. It highlights a doubles match featuring Mario and Luigi against Peach and Yoshi on an all-weather court. The text suggests Waluigi is aiming for the superstar position in the Mario world, and questions what kind of character he is and how strong he will be. It mentions that if Wario and Waluigi team up, a bad combination might be born. The screenshots showcase gameplay with Waluigi in action, demonstrating his moves and presence on the tennis court. The page overall is introducing and promoting Waluigi as a key player in Mario Tennis 64 and his potential impact on gameplay. This page previews Mystery Dungeon, Shiren the Wanderer 2, Oni Invasion, Shiren Castle for the Nintendo 64. The game, developed by Chunsoft and slated for a summer 2000 release, is a dungeon RPG for one player. The article highlights the game's system, showcasing the story where Shiren and Koppa arrive in a village plagued by monsters and tasked with building a castle. Screenshots show in-game scenes with villagers, dialogues, and gameplay. The villagers are requesting Shiren to build a castle, and there is mention of an old woman from an udon shop helping Shiren and Koppa during their adventure. The game focuses on Shiren's ability to build a castle, a unique aspect of this installment in the series. The next page introduces Natan Village, the starting point for adventure in Shiren the Wanderer. It highlights this village as a place where the wandering swordsman Shiren comes to, and it serves as the base for his journey. The page details key locations and characters within Natane Village. First, there's the udon shop Miyu, run by a friendly old man, where Shiren can rest and get udon. Then there's the village shrine, dedicated to the village's guardian deity, said to be the Dharma god, from 1500 years ago. Grandma is mentioned as the village elder, a knowledgeable figure passing down tales. The training ground is where players can learn the game's mechanics and level up before heading out into dungeons, letting you practice combat against monster dummies. The page also mentions ordinary houses where players can gather information from villagers and potentially trigger events. Two characters are introduced: Riku, a village boy who becomes friends with Shiren, and Susumi, Riku's older sister, known for her beauty and kind nature, who is always looking out for her brother. The page hints at events happening within the village homes, and the importance of gathering information from the villagers to aid in the adventure. The next page is about Let's Castle Building, and focuses on gathering materials for building a castle in a game. It details 6 types of materials: rock, soil, wood, iron, ghost-repelling water, and gold, each with unique characteristics. Rock can break easily, soil can be dug up, wood burns, iron can be used for weapons and armor, ghost-repelling water might cause slipping, and gold is rare and valuable. Materials also have quality ranks like normal, good, and excellent, affecting the quality of castle parts. Gathering materials involves exploring dungeons, and the page emphasizes that better quality materials will result in stronger castle parts, and good or excellent materials are essential for creating robust castle components. The game seems to encourage players to carefully choose and collect materials to build a strong and resilient castle. This page is about the Nintendo 64 game Shiren the Wanderer 2, Oni Invasion, Shiren Castle. It explains how to build Siren's castle in the game, using materials and parts. The page details that materials are gathered in dungeons, then taken to a village on Shuten Summit, where the villagers, called mountain people, process them into parts. These parts, such as walls and gates, are then used to construct the castle. The screenshots show scenes from the game including villagers in Natan Village, the village's overall atmosphere, a shop or lookout point, a large gate in the village, and the raft departure point. The page highlights that after processing the materials into parts in the mountain village, you transport them to Natan Village by river using a raft. The game character shown is riding a raft down a river, emphasizing the river transport mechanic. The next page introduces Digimon 3D, a game where players build a castle in a demon-inhabited area. It highlights that demons, who enjoy destroying things, will definitely not overlook a newly built castle. The page details the demons, stating they normally live by harming villages and troubling people, but are now confronted with a castle that is under construction. The demons are described as not thinking deeply or having detailed plans, acting impulsively. The characters introduced are Oyabun, a typical powerful and audacious demon parent figure. While strict with subordinates, he is lenient towards his daughter, Kira. Gara, a crafty demon subordinate. He is always giving orders to Kira, and is a big fan of red demon folktales. Kira, the parent demon's daughter. She has a straightforward personality, initially cautious of humans. Meeting Siren seems to change her. Oni no Kobuntachi, demon henchmen. These demons act without much thought, moved by their impulses. They are easily swayed by sweet talk. The screenshots depict scenes where the characters interact, including dialogues showcasing Kira's initial suspicion of humans and eventual interaction with a human character named Siren. The next page introduces various dungeons and 2 shopkeepers. It talks about the Mystery Dungeon series, where the terrain changes every time you explore. This article focuses on Fushigi no Dungeon. Furai no Shiren 2 Onigashiro Metsubu, released only in Japan. The page details gameplay within dungeons, mentioning shops where you can buy items with money earned from defeating monsters. It also mentions specialty shops with unique items. Screenshots showcase different dungeon environments. Bamboo Forest, which is described as beautiful and calm but still containing monsters. And Bottomless Swamp, which is described as a dangerous swamp leading to Natane Village. Another section details shop monsters, specifically Induba, monsters disguised as items in the shop. It shows how approaching items in the shop can reveal these monsters, implying danger even when shopping. Finally, it explains the game over/restart mechanic. If your health reaches 0 in a dungeon, you are returned to the Udon shop in Natane Village. Losing consciousness in a dungeon means losing all items and levels, essentially restarting from level 1, emphasizing the importance of careful gameplay. The village elder in the Udon shop supports the player and encourages them to try again. This page showcases the Japanese box art for the Nintendo 64 game, Kirby 64. The Crystal Shards, also known as Kirby of the Stars 64 in Japan and subtitled Kirby A Go! It features artwork of Kirby, King Dedede, Adeline, and Ribbon. The information panel on the right side details the game's title, publisher Nintendo, release date as being on sale from March 24th, a price of 6,800 yen, genre as action, player count as 1 player with 4 players for minigames, and mentions it is compatible with the Rumble Pack. It is clearly identified as a Nintendo 64 title. The next page is about boss battles in Kirby 64, the Crystal Shards. It covers the strategies for defeating the first 3 bosses across levels 1 to 3. For level 1, the boss is Wispy Woods, fought in Popstar. The strategy is to attack the root of the tree while being mindful of its breath and projectiles. Defeating Wispy Woods Jr. first is also recommended. Level 2 features Pix Stage. To defeat Pix, you must destroy the 3 colored crystals surrounding it, being careful not to take damage. It's important to jump when the lift is rising and attack Pifix while it's on the lift. Lastly, Level 3 introduces Acro from Ripple Star. Acro has the ability to revive, so caution is advised. Be wary of its oil attacks and ground pounds. The recommendation is to use the needle ability to defeat Acro effectively. The next page is a strategy guide for Level 4 of Kirby 64, the Crystal Shards, titled Kori Karasuta. The first stage is King Kirby of the Forest, going through the primitive forest. This stage starts in a primeval forest or jungle setting. The enemy character introduced is Murafu, which is described as a wild boar-type enemy that charges at Kirby. Gameplay tips mention that Yariko's spears are aimed at Kirby, so jump to avoid them and defeat them quickly. Be careful of traps in the grass. The second stage is Let's break through at once with these mushrooms. This stage's highlight is the trolley or minecart sections where you can enjoy trolley action. The enemy introduced is Kaba, which is described as being able to copy the cutter ability when inhaled. The tips mention enjoying trolley action, together with Waddle Dees and Indy Jones-faced enemies. During the trolley sections, exclamation marks will appear. Press A to jump. Enemies in front can be rammed and defeated. Be careful not to miss crystals when falling at the beginning of the trolley section. Sticking to the left side of the screen is recommended. The trolley jump timing is also important. This page is focused on the third stage of Kirby 64, the Crystal Shards, highlighting Waveland as the stage title and describing it as a stage of continuous, high-altitude jumps. It warns about the importance of careful jumping to avoid falling, mentioning unstable footing and rocks. The page introduces 3 Kirby enemies. Bibako, described as attacking by dancing and shaking maracas with no special ability. Peroga, appearing from large holes and unable to be inhaled. And Dango, which when inhaled grants Kirby the needle ability. The screenshots showcase gameplay on Waveland, emphasizing jumping across platforms, using the needle ability to defeat enemies, and navigating precarious platforms. One image points out rock formations that resemble the word Kirby. The advice given is to carefully time jumps, use the needle ability effectively, and be cautious of small, potentially falling platforms. The next page introduces the 4th stage of Kirby 64, the Crystal Shards, which is a lava stage. It warns players to be careful in the molten lava stage. The page showcases 3 enemy characters. Bira, which can be inhaled for the ability to lift and throw enemies. Yariko, who throws spears and cannot be lifted. And Chili, who allows Kirby to copy the ice ability when inhaled. Gameplay tips for the lava stage include being mindful of the lava and utilizing the burn-in's ability when in trouble. Emphasizing timing jumps carefully because of the heat. It also advises to defeat enemies ahead to clear the path. The page notes that molten lava flows from behind, so players need to keep moving forward while being aware of enemy attacks. The final tip is to jump upwards while in lava sections, and to not forget about crystals in these areas. This page is about the Nintendo 64 game Kirby 64, the Crystal Shards, and specifically focuses on the boss character named Yogen. It provides gameplay screenshots and tips on how to defeat Yogen, who is described as a lava Yogen born from magma, the level 4 boss. The strategy involves dodging Yogen's fire pillars, inhaling magma to create star bullets, and attacking. It mentions positioning Kirby on one of the 4 rocky platforms and predicting where the fire pillars will emerge. The page also highlights Hayama, a character who, when inhaled, grants Kirby the ice ability. The text at the bottom asks about the adventures ahead and if all the crystals can be collected, suggesting it is a preview or guide for the game. The next page is a preview for Biohazard Zero, which is Resident Evil Zero in English, for the Nintendo 64. The page highlights the game's upcoming appearance at the Tokyo Game Show 2000 in spring, where the main characters will be revealed. It mentions Billy Cohen as one of the characters. The article suggests that the N64 ROM cartridge format enables new system features and story settings in this game. The screenshots show in-game scenes with Rebecca Chambers and Billy Cohen seemingly in a train setting, characteristic of Resident Evil Zero. The game is listed as a survival horror genre for 1 player and compatible with the Rumble and Memory expansion pack. The release date and price are still undecided at this point. Capcom is noted as the developer and publisher. This page showcases the game Biohazard Zero, which was released internationally as Resident Evil Zero. It highlights the 2 main characters of the game, Rebecca Chambers and Billy Cohen. Rebecca is described as an 18-year-old scientific prodigy and the youngest member of STAR's Bravo team. Billy Cohen is introduced as a former Marine lieutenant sentenced to death for mass murder, who escapes custody during a monster attack on a train. The page explains that these 2 characters meet amidst the chaos and begin working together. The next page dives into Biohazard Zero, known internationally as Resident Evil Zero. The headline questions the fate of Bravo team and spotlights Rebecca Chambers as a survivor, hinting at changes to the usual formula. The article discusses the background story, referencing the zombie outbreak in Raccoon City, and the deployment of STAR's Bravo team under Enrico Marini. Screenshots reveal scenes of Rebecca and Billy in a train setting, establishing the game's location. A TGS report covers the game's presentation at the Tokyo Game Show, featuring photos of developers and guests on stage. The discussion emphasizes Rebecca and Billy as the central protagonists and highlights the strategic gameplay elements that set Biohazard Zero apart from earlier entries in the series. The developers mention the game is around 20% complete and aiming for a release around autumn or winter. Photos identify key figures, including the producer for the entire series, a producer for Biohazard Zero, and the director of Biohazard 2, alongside guest talent A, who is described as a Biohazard fan. The next page introduces a new system in Biohazard Zero, known internationally as Resident Evil Zero, called Character Change. This system allows players to switch between the 2 main characters, Rebecca and Billy, during gameplay. The article explains that the game starts on a train, and that Rebecca and Billy will meet there and act together. Previous games had moments where players switched characters at predetermined points, but in Resident Evil Zero, players can freely switch between Rebecca and Billy. This new system emphasizes using Rebecca's scientific knowledge and Billy's combat skills to overcome challenges. The article highlights that this character switching mechanic is essential for solving puzzles and escaping dangerous situations, requiring players to cooperate with both characters. The page also includes a section titled File, which details information on Billy Cohen, a former lieutenant, and mentions Rebecca's report from Resident Evil 2. The phrase, Two-player cooperation is also featured, indicating cooperative gameplay elements, potentially implying puzzles or challenges that require both characters to work together. Screenshots on the page showcase gameplay, including scenes inside the train and a kitchen area, demonstrating the character switching mechanic in action. This page unveils details about the partner actions and item management systems in Biohazard Zero, which was released internationally as Resident Evil Zero. The Partner Action section explains how the game introduces a new mechanic where players control two characters simultaneously. The command menu includes options like Command to instruct your partner, Item for item exchange, and Change to switch characters. This system adds strategic depth to combat and exploration. The page then discusses the item box system, revealing a significant change. There are no item boxes. Instead, players must place items on the ground, adding a layer of resource management and spatial awareness. Item exchange between partners is still possible, and the inventory limits are highlighted. Rebecca can carry 8 items, and Billy can carry 6, for a total of 14. Screenshots illustrate item exchange and item placement. The page concludes by explaining the traditional item box system from previous games as context for this new approach. This page from 64Dream magazine is about Biohazard Zero, known internationally as Resident Evil Zero. The article is titled, Symphony of Horror and Mystery Seen from Screen Information. The page is split into sections discussing the horror and mystery elements of the game. It highlights that the game is set entirely on a train, a place with no escape, where players must achieve an unknown objective by solving various mysteries. The screenshots show the train's interior, described as cluttered rooms, emphasizing the diverse environments within the train. The terror section emphasizes the zombie-filled train and narrow corridors, creating a sense of constant dread. It poses questions about escaping and fighting enemies in these tight spaces. The mystery section elaborates on surviving the nightmare scenario by solving numerous puzzles. Screenshots illustrate gameplay elements like fleeing from zombies, using items, and solving puzzles such as using a card key to open doors. One screenshot hints at an electronic range or elevator with wine inside, suggesting item interactions. The TGS First Impressions section reports on the game being playable at Tokyo Game Show. It states that players could experience a version where Rebecca was the playable character. The impression is positive, noting smooth controls and good graphics, with attention also given to the voice acting quality. The article concludes by expressing anticipation for the full game, highlighting the improved graphics and immersive voice acting. This page is a preview for GameCube Powerful Pro Yakyu 2000 on Nintendo 64. It highlights the new Dramatic Pennant mode, focusing on team strengthening and player development during camp. Players can select 30 players from the army and farm teams to form their roster for the pennant race. The game features scenarios where player acquisition and training are key, even mid-season. Screenshots show gameplay, team management interfaces, and player statistics screens. The game is a sports genre for 1 to 2 players and was scheduled for release on April 29th, priced at 7,800 yen, requiring a 64 GB pack. It emphasizes building a strong team through strategic player selection and training to win the pennant. This page is about a baseball game, specifically showcasing a feature where you can swap players from the farm team into the main team during the season to strengthen your roster. It highlights the scenario mode, which allows you to play scenarios for all 12 baseball teams. This article specifically introduces 4 scenarios for teams including the Yomiuri Giants, Chunichi Dragons, Seibu Lions, Osaka Kintetsu Buffaloes, Fukuoka Daiei Hawks, Chiba Lotte Marines, Yakult Swallows, and Hanshin Tigers. The game being featured is likely GameCube Powerful Pro Yakyu 6, a baseball game for the N64 that was only released in Japan. Powerful Pro Baseball 6, a Japan-exclusive N64 title, features a career mode with 2 companies, Powerful Products and Inokari Concern. Powerful Products offers a beginner-friendly, steady-paced approach, focusing on consistent practice. Players begin with a 150,000 yen monthly salary, with performance evaluations determining raises. In contrast, Inokari Concern presents a more challenging path, requiring players to fight through promotion matches starting from the 3rd team. Reaching the 1st team demands diligent practice, as poor performance can lead to demotion. Despite a higher starting salary of 180,000 yen, similar disposable income remains due to increased living expenses. Both companies provide unique career experiences, with key events like the company president's evaluation and promotion test influencing player progression. The next page is showcasing information about a baseball game, likely from the Power Pros series, focusing on the success mode. The page highlights two main scenarios or storylines within this mode. Firstly, limited company Tanpopo Works is facing a company crisis, where you need to balance baseball and work to save the company from going under. It emphasizes the importance of work to prevent bankruptcy, and earning money through work to improve skills and performance on the baseball field. The gameplay screenshots depict managing work and training schedules, with indicators for stress and fatigue. Secondly, Dosugoi Liquor Store, Limited, presents another scenario where you are playing baseball and working at a liquor store. It mentions a huge sumo wrestler-type character named Osamaru as a challenge. This storyline seems to focus on the hardship of balancing baseball with the demanding work at the liquor store and maintaining physical condition. The gameplay screenshots again show training and work management, with dialogues involving the character and his boss at the liquor store. Both scenarios seem to be about managing your time between work and baseball training in the success mode, highlighting the challenges of balancing these aspects to achieve success in the game. The page also mentions initial training icons and work/monthly salary mechanics within the game. This page is all about lure fishing in the game Shigesato Itoi's #1 Bass Fishing Definitive Edition on the Nintendo 64. It starts by asking why bass eat lures, explaining it's their predatory nature and that lures need to imitate living prey. The page then details how to choose and use lures based on the fishing location. It describes three main types of fishing spots: pier, big rock, and cape tip. For each location, it gives advice on lure types and fishing techniques. For the pier area, it suggests using topwater plugs and buzzbaits, and to cast quietly around the pier, focusing on the areas where the pier meets the water. At the big rock location, it recommends jig and worm-type lures, or vibration lures, suggesting to cast close to the big rocks that are visible above the water. It emphasizes approaching quietly in a boat. For the Cape Tip area, the advice is that this location is good for bass as it is where currents meet. It advises to experiment with lures here, especially around the tip of the cape where the water depth changes, suggesting it can be a good spot for catching large fish. The page uses screenshots of the game to illustrate these points and highlight good fishing locations. It's giving players practical advice on lure selection and fishing strategies within the game based on different environments. This page presents a water depth specific lure compatibility chart for fishing in a game. The chart recommends different types of fishing lures based on the water depth. For surface to 1 meter depth, it suggests topwater lures like pencil bait, popper, floating minnow, crankbait, and buzzbait. For depths of 1 to 4 meters, the recommended lures are spinnerbait, long grub, suspend minnow, crankbait, 34 meters, vibration, rubber jig and pork, and metal jig, categorized as shallow to medium depth lures. For water depths of 4 meters or more, the chart indicates deep lures such as spinnerbait, rubber jig and pork, metal jig, and sharkbait. Finally, for fishing at the bottom, it recommends bottom lures like grub, paddletail, and ring. The text box on the right explains topwater plugs, which are lures used on the water's surface, also known as surface plugs. It mentions examples such as pencil baits, poppers, floating minnows, and buzzbaits. Topwater plugs are described as effective for attracting fish that are near the surface, especially bass, during periods when fish are actively feeding and energetic. The best time to use topwater plugs is during the morning and evening hours, and in this game, starting with a topwater plug in the morning might be a good strategy. This page is a guide on effectively using lures in the N64 fishing game Tsuri Bito Senyu Controller Tsuri-Con 64. A game that was not released outside of Japan. It details several lure techniques for players to master to catch fish, breaking down methods like falling for letting the lure sink naturally, vertical jigging for rod action in deep water, walking the dog to mimic fleeing small fish, straight retrieve as a basic technique, stop and go for varying lure movement, and twitching for sudden lure movements to attract fish. The article suggests starting with soft lures for beginners, and then advancing to more complex lure strategies within the game. Screenshots of the game interface during fishing are also included to visually demonstrate the techniques. This page is all about mastering fishing techniques in what looks like an N64 fishing game, possibly using the Tsuri-Con 64 controller. It details various lure and rod techniques like jerking for topwater plugs, zigzag retrieve using crankbaits and spinnerbaits, shaking with worm lures, bottom bumping and bottom crawl for bottom fishing with soft lures, and swimming, which is a more advanced technique. There's a section featuring an interview snippet with Mr. Arai, who mentions that the game realistically incorporates actual fishing techniques. He points out that in the game, weedy areas are good fishing spots, although he personally dislikes fishing in weeds in real life. Finally, the page gives advice on fishing line, suggesting players should not forget to buy better lines in the game shop. It explains different line types and how line breaks are shown in the game, even using an expression of a frog's face to indicate line breakage. It emphasizes that having spare lines is crucial to avoid losing lures. This page is about the Nushitsuri 64, Shiokaze ni Note fishing game for the Nintendo 64. The text highlights that while many bass fishing games are on the N64, this one is from the reliable Nushitsuri series. It mentions it's a proper, orthodox-style game that fans have been waiting for, and suggests players try it out quickly. The page details how the characters are now larger and easier to see on screen, making gameplay more user-friendly. The map displayed on screen is also improved, and while it might seem small at first, it's easy to get used to. The game operation is described as simple and enjoyable, where many actions are performed just by pressing a button, like catching fish, which removes the complexity of previous games where you had to manually reel them in. It emphasizes that now you can concentrate on fishing itself. The game is noted for making it easier to catch fish, which is considered a positive aspect. The graphics are also praised for being clearer, making it easier to distinguish between large and small fish. The page includes screenshots showcasing the gameplay interface, in-game environments, and characters interacting with the game's menu system. The game is a fishing action RPG for one player and was scheduled for release on May 26th, priced at 6,800 yen. This page dives into the N64 fishing game, Fishmaster, which was exclusive to Japan. It introduces gameplay through different scenarios for 3 family members. In Brother Sekiro's case, the adventure begins with a letter and focuses on the Ito fishing tournament. Winning this tournament is the ticket to Hawaii. The game prompts you to visit the fishing gear shop to prepare. Sister Ayumi's case centers around catching hirame, or flounder, emphasizing learning proper fishing techniques and using a tropical fish encyclopedia. Finally, in Father Kenji's case, the goal is to win the fish tackle contest, with a grand prize of 30,000 yen, seemingly needed for family funds. The overall theme revolves around finding the nushi, or master fish, and the page highlights the exciting start to this fishing series. The next page showcases a preview for the Nintendo 64 game Doraemon 3, Nobita's Town SOS 3. This 3D action-adventure game, published by Epoch and slated for a summer 2000 release in Japan, will allow 1 to 4 players. The game emphasizes using Doraemon's secret gadgets to solve mysteries. Notably, this installment marks the first time Nobita's Town is fully rendered in 3D within a Doraemon game. The article mentions that using certain gadgets will dynamically change the map environment. Another highlighted feature is the inclusion of a voice recognition system and support for the Rumble Pack. This page is focused on the Nintendo 64 game Ide Yusuke's Mahjong Classroom. It's presented as a mahjong software where players can learn the game. The main mode is Family Mode, which features 7 mahjong tournaments throughout a year in the game. The page details several tournaments, like the Flower Viewing Cup, the New Year's Day Cup, the Girls' Festival Cup, the Watermelon Splitting Cup, the King Title Decision Match, and the New Year's Eve Final Battle, each with unique rules and scoring. The game also includes a Game Record Mode to analyze past matches. Featured prominently is Ide Yusuke himself, a mahjong master, with a profile detailing his career, including graduating from Tokyo University, becoming a professional mahjong player, and contributing to mahjong's popularization. Screenshots show in-game mahjong action. The game was released exclusively in Japan and was never released internationally with an English title. This page is about the Game Boy game Card Hero. It's episode 6 of the coverage, and introduces the story and booster packs. The game is a card game for one player, compatible with Game Boy and Game Boy Color, and supports communication cables and the pocket printer. The article discusses gameplay strategies against the magician character Nalsi and the boss Toshio, mentioning using psychic power and fast attack decks. Screenshots show in-game battles and dialogue scenes. The Battle Center, a new facility replacing the Kurama Club, marks a shift towards full-fledged card battles starting in Chapter 7. This center features a battle room where players face new opponents. Maru Higea's store, selling booster packs from Series 3 and 4, including Monster and Magic cards, and Series 4 introduces Super cards and single cards, has been renovated and is located within. Booster packs are 150 yen. Dr. Takumi's consultation room provides deck-building assistance, specializing in optimizing Monster and Magic card ratios. History. Additionally, a Card Hero PC is available after Chapter 2, allowing players to battle a CPU using their own deck. This PC aids in testing strategies, identifying weaknesses, and experimenting without using metals. The card game features a tiered battle system with Junior, Senior, and Pro classes. Players begin in Junior class, battling for magical master cards, and advancing to Senior class. Achieving over 10 points in Senior unlocks Pro class, where battles become more challenging. Pro class features 10 HP masters and 30 card decks. Earning 10 points in Pro allows players to challenge Master X, the ultimate opponent, and earn the title King of Battlers. Battle points are awarded based on win/loss ratios. Weekly tournaments offer medals for the top 5. Gameplay involves 20 card decks and 5 HP masters in Junior and Senior classes. Junior class offers card trading with opponents. Collecting cards in this N64 card game involves several methods. Some rare, unobtainable cards, Shigatoni, Jiresu, Polygoma, can be obtained through the Blenkun machine, friend trades requiring a communication cable, or trading with defeated battler characters. Your ID number is essential for these interactions. The Blenkun machine allows you to combine 3 cards for a random new card, avoiding use of rare cards in the process. Trading with battlers often yields rare cards after difficult battles, and it's best to keep the cards you want to trade out of your current deck. Finally, mysterious figures, like Jankenko, at the Battle Center, can offer opportunities to double your medals through rock, paper, scissors, but losing means forfeiting them. Strong decks like Master Deck HP 3 and Super Rapid Fire Deck can be used in these gambling situations. This page is an introduction to cards from the Card Hero Booster Pack, showcasing cards numbered from 067 to 086. The Booster Pack is divided into Series 3 Strange Kind and Series 4 Super Include. The page features a variety of Monster and Magic cards, each with a star rating, level, and description of their effects and strategic uses in the Card Hero card battle game. Examples include cards like Lovely, Gary, Nunchaku, Gasatz, Rathon, Leon, Bitter, Sweet, Pensky, and many others. Each card provides details on its abilities and when best to utilize them in battles. This webpage catalogs magic cards or items from an unknown game, possibly on the N64, each with a Japanese title and rarity rating. The items offer strategic advantages focused on monster battles. Key mechanics involve manipulating monster positions, rotation, healing/defense, charm, counterattacks, kapun, and influencing luck, yanperon. Some cards have specific effects, like powering up monsters, gasuken, reviving them, uzufurur, or increasing attack power, neri. Others focus on sealing actions, shirjin, dealing damage to low HP allies, black rain, or restricting enemy movement, kagenui. Defense is covered by cards like Danshan and Bound Shield. Several cards have a high impact, such as the attack card Kiaidam, the transformation card Henshin Mirror, and the rare Morgan. The game emphasizes resource management, stones, strategic attacks, defense, and the use of special effects, presented in a gameplay guide format. This page is an introduction to Nintama Rantaru 64 Game Gallery for the Nintendo 64, a collection of puzzle games featuring characters from the Nintama Rantaru anime. It is described as a great game collection, with 4 puzzle games included. The page showcases 2 main puzzle game types. Tekipa Cube is a puzzle where you manipulate cubes in a field to arrange them correctly and complete a picture. The cubes are split into 4 to 9 sections. Another puzzle is called Otoshipan, a falling puzzle game where you match panels to clear them. The goal is to match the falling panels with the pictures displayed at the bottom. The game is priced at 6,480 yen and falls under the puzzle game genre, requiring 64 M of memory. It was released on April 14th. There's also a mention of Trump playing cards being included as a bonus. The page highlights the game as being fun for friends and family to play together, offering both versus and time attack modes. This page is a sticker sheet special from 64Dream magazine, volume 45. The theme is The Legend of Zelda, Majora's Mask, featuring character stickers including Link on Epona, Tingle, the Happy Mask Salesman, Cafe, and various masks from the game like the Deku Mask, Goron Mask, and Zora Mask. There are also stickers of Navi and scenes from Clock Town. The page includes screenshots from The Legend of Zelda, Majora's Mask, and mentions a game gallery for the title. Alongside Zelda content, there are also Card Hero stickers, shown as game cards with monsters and items. Other games mentioned in smaller text are Bass Rush and Ide Yusuke no Mahjong Juku. The bottom right also has logos for Maruhige Company. The From Letters section of the magazine features reader discussions about the N64 and the gaming landscape. Topics include concerns about the N64's future after new hardware announcements, high prices of retro games, and the possibility of hidden gem game releases. Readers praise the magazine's coverage of popular games. The illustration corner showcases reader artwork. Featured illustrations include Mario and Peach, art inspired by Mystic Arc, and expressions of anticipation for Star Fox 2. Other drawings reference Yoshi's story, Resident Evil's healing mechanics, and a possible game with J2 popularity revival, featuring a character named Josetto. The section also celebrates Doraemon's 30th anniversary with N64 game mentions and showcases fan appreciation for the Super Famicom game Just Breed. This page is a special feature focusing on Zelda's Majora's Mask, which is subtitled, Majora's Mask is finally released! Are you excited? It expresses the excitement for the game's release in just 1 week, with a call for play reviewers for Majora's Mask. There's a section discussing mask combinations, suggesting ideas like a Doraemon mask that leads to finding a heart container, or a Mario mask where wearing it makes the mustache prickly and eating a mushroom might make you big, or a poison mushroom causing stomachache, and finally, a Luigi mask. Another section titled Zelfkun Special contains fan submissions and comments related to Majora's Mask from readers in different prefectures, like Okayama, Chiba, Saitama, Gifu, and Tokyo, mentioning their excitement and anticipation for the game. A section, What is Majora?, briefly explains Majora's Mask. Finally, there is a call for play reviews for Majora's Mask, asking readers to send in their reviews of around 400 characters on manuscript paper, with a mention of considering prizes for submissions. This page discusses upcoming and recently released Nintendo 64 titles, specifically focusing on fan anticipation and feedback. Regarding Fire Emblem, the magazine notes that while a Nintendo 64 version isn't definitively ruled out, it's not 100% certain. There's mention that Kaga, considered the parent of Fire Emblem, has moved to a different company and is developing Emblem Saga for PlayStation, creating uncertainty about the future of Fire Emblem on Nintendo 64. Fan submissions and illustrations expressing opinions on this are featured. The page then shifts to Kirby 64, The Crystal Shards, celebrating its release. It encourages players to collect all the crystals and see the ending. Player reviews are highlighted, praising the game for being cute and enjoyable, especially the ability mixing. The magazine is also collecting illustration postcards from readers as a release commemoration special. Various fan illustrations and comments about Kirby 64 are showcased, with players particularly enjoying the copy abilities and the game's overall charm. Finally, the page touches upon Mother 3, stating that based on a previous interview, its release seems imminent, but information is still scarce. The magazine urges readers to send postcards to express their enthusiasm and support for the game's development team. This page provides news and fan content related to Nintendo 64 and upcoming systems. It features sections on Pokémon Gold and Silver, Super Mario RPG 2, and a discussion on unauthorized strategy guides. The Pokémon section focuses on a rare, difficult-to-catch Pokémon, emphasizing the illegality of using modification devices. The Super Mario RPG 2 announcement reveals a summer release in the Nintendo calendar and promotes the Luigi Fan Club. The Zaruda section discusses the negative impact of unauthorized Pokémon strategy guides. Finally, there's a glimpse into future hardware, mentioning the potential delay of the Dolphin, GameCube, and the Game Boy Advance. Contact information for the 64Dream magazine's GameSoft Fan Club 2 is also provided. ADD magazine is holding a character popularity contest in its next issue, featuring 16 characters for voting. The characters include Bowser, Shy Guy, Mario, Luigi, Fox, Falco, Light, Zelda, Link, Kirby, Peach, Amos, a mysterious enemy, an elder character, Donkey Kong, and Ganondorf. Readers can vote for their favorite character by writing their choice and reason on a postcard, which can also include characters not listed, and sending it in by May 31st. This page is a comic strip titled Dream Runker, focusing on The Legend of Zelda, Majora's Mask. The comic depicts Bowser showing Link a collection of masks, explaining that in this Zelda game, you can transform using masks collected from around the world. Bowser forces Link to try on different masks, including a Mr. Saturn mask, which causes an explosion, and a Zora mask, much to Link's dismay, as Bowser wants to see Link transform into a lizard, Darunia form. The comic ends with Bowser noticing a Shy Guy, hinting at further comedic events. This page is a comic strip featuring Link and Fox McCloud. Link is initially scared, and Fox asks him what is wrong. Link explains he had a scary dream. Fox jokes that Link looks funny with the mask on, and asks if he is joining the Star Fox team. Peach then appears and finds Link cute with the mask. The page also includes a section titled Personally Expected New Work, which is about the Black Onyx DX. The text mentions that the writer has been looking forward to the Game Boy version of Black Onyx for a while, but it has been repeatedly delayed. They also mention being hyped for the game Hydlide. They are excited about the Game Boy RPGs and hope good titles will be released. They apologize for the maniacal comment this month. This page showcases the reader submission section of 64Dream magazine, titled Almost Rokuyan-Style Copy School. This month's theme was My Buddy, with the winning entry being decided. The page is divided into categories. The Mario section features reader-submitted lines referencing Mario games, including one about Luigi comparison ratio, likely referencing Super Mario 64. The Game Boy section contains reader submissions related to Game Boy games. The 64Dream section includes reader submissions related to the magazine itself or general N64 topics. Looking ahead, the next issue will feature submission themes for Mario focusing on Mario action games, Luigi, with the subtitle Brothers' Thoughts, 64Dream encouraging more copy submissions, and Kirby requesting pink and fluffy Kirby copy ideas. The submission deadline is May 31st. The page also provides details on how to send submissions via postal mail or email. This page is a cover for a strategy guidebook called Dream Hint Book for the game The Legend of Zelda, Majora's Mask. It shows the iconic Majora's Mask at the top, along with the title in both English and Japanese. Below that, there's an image depicting Link, a dog, and another character in a town setting. The text on the bottom left warns about spoilers and mentions that the guide covers the opening of the game up to the first dungeon. It is promoted as a book-in-book in the 64Dream magazine for the July issue. This page is a game preview for The Legend of Zelda, Majora's Mask for the Nintendo 64. It's titled Majora's Mask New Strategy Thorough Check. The page focuses on explaining the game's unique 3-day system and how saving works. It details the flow of time in the game, starting with the first day, the second day, and the final day before the moon falls, leading to a game over. The page explains the save system, clarifying that you can save at any time during the 3 days. However, when you save and reload, you always return to the dawn of the first day. Crucially, any events you triggered or progressed in the game world will reset. Consumable items like Deku Nuts and bombs are also reset to 0. The page highlights what is saved, such as masks and sea items you have acquired, ocarina melodies recorded in your collection screen, heart pieces, key items, dungeon maps and compasses. It also mentions that if you buy maps from Tingle, field maps are saved. Rupees in hand can be safely kept by depositing them in the bank. On the other hand, what is not saved includes dungeon puzzles, sub-events, and conversations with people you've met. These all revert to their initial state. Also, fairies and bottles are not saved. The text advises players to understand this unique save system and the flow of time to enjoy the game. It's a central element of Majora's Mask. This page is about The Legend of Zelda, Majora's Mask, and its unique 3-day time loop gameplay mechanic. It highlights how the game revolves around repeating the same 3 days and how crucial the Bomber's Notebook is for managing events and interacting with characters in this cycle. The page emphasizes that players will notice how characters' lives and dramas unfold within these repeating 3 days, encouraging active participation and observation to discover solutions and outcomes. It features screenshots showcasing gameplay elements like the in-game clock, characters like the Gorman brothers and Tingle, and user interface elements related to the Bomber's Notebook. The page describes the gameplay loop as starting from the first day morning, progressing through 3 days of free exploration and event completion, and culminating in a save point on the final day before repeating. This page is about The Legend of Zelda: Majora's Mask, and introduces Termina as a parallel world to Hyrule, emphasizing its depth compared to Ocarina of Time. It describes Termina's world structure, starting from Clocktown in the center of Termina Field, making it easy to access different areas. The page highlights how the game provides a sense of adventure and seamless transitions between areas, surpassing the previous game in that aspect. The page details various locations like Clocktown, Termina Field, Romani Ranch, Great Bay, Zora Hall, Snowhead, Goron Village, Rockville, Icona Valley, Deku Palace, and Woodfall, showing screenshots and brief descriptions for some. It mentions that Termina Field has different nuances during day and night, similar to Hyrule Field, but with a different, more contrasting feel. It points out features like the ocean, absent in the previous game, which can be seen in the distance from Termina Field. The text also describes Clocktown with its 4 gates leading to different areas: Romani Ranch inhabited by beautiful sisters, the snowy mountains to the north with Gorons, and the ocean area where Zora resides, hinting at events happening there. It also mentions Deku Palace, located deeper in the swamp, highlighting the Deku Kingdom and expressing personal fondness for its background music. This guide covers the beginning of The Legend of Zelda: Majora's Mask, up to obtaining the Deku Mask. First, chase Stalkid through the forest, past cut tree stumps. You won't recover the mask immediately. Then, search for stray fairies. They are found north of Clocktown. Refer to page 66 of the illustration map, and the laundry pool. Collect the stray fairies and bring them to the Great Fairy. Use A to grab and jump, and the control stick to aim Deku flower jumps. Talk to the Happy Mask salesman in the mask shop, then head to Clocktown Square. Listen to Tingle, then go north. In Clocktown, fairies are in the laundry pool, 6 a.m. to 6 p.m., and the Eastern Wooden Box, 6 p.m. to 6 a.m. The Happy Mask salesman says that you should come back to him when you can change back to your original form. This page is a walkthrough guide for the game The Legend of Zelda: Majora's Mask. Step 3 explains how to catch the 5 Bomber's children scattered around Clocktown. Following instructions from the Great Fairy, you need to find these kids located near the post office, behind the slide, and near the milk bar. The guide mentions using soap bubbles, controlled with the B button, to capture Jim, the leader of the Bombers. Step 4 details going to the observatory. After successfully catching all 5 Bombers and learning their secret code, you should head to the eastern part of town and speak to the old man there. Following this, you need to use the telescope at the clock tower to look at Stallchild, which will trigger an event. The page also provides information about the Bombers themselves, describing them as children who roam Clocktown and are part of the Bombers Secret Society of Justice, led by Jim, who wears a red bandana. To join their group, you must pass a test. The bottom right image depicts Stallchild and the moon, and explains that by looking through the telescope, you can obtain the moon's tear after Stallchild looks at the moon and it falls. The next page delves into The Legend of Zelda: Majora's Mask. Step 5 is titled Moon's Tear and Land Ownership Right Exchange, guiding players on how to use a Deku flower near the clock tower and exchange the Moon's Tear for the land deed. Step 6, Return Time with the Ocarina of Time, explains reverting time using the Ocarina of Time after the 3rd day at midnight and mentions an encounter with Stallchild. Step 7, Learning the Song of Time Reverse, details learning the Song of Time Reverse by playing the ocarina and interacting with Kakashi at the observatory. There's also a section about things to do before leaving Clocktown, and a tip on finding a heart piece in Clocktown, specifically on top of a tree in the north area, using a vertical pillar to reach it. This guide details the locations and activities available in Clocktown during the first 3 days of The Legend of Zelda: Majora's Mask. Key locations include the post office, where you can participate in a mail delivery minigame. The Great Fairy Fountain requires you to collect a stray fairy to help the fragmented Great Fairy. You can practice Deku flower jumps at the shooting gallery. Other establishments include the Sword Dojo, treasure chest shop, bank, bomb shop, curiosity shop, Maruya house, open only after 10 p.m., and the washing field, where you can find cafe. This guide provides information on minigames, item shops, and essential services within Clocktown. This page is a guide for The Legend of Zelda, Majora's Mask, focusing on Clocktown. It introduces Tingle, who sells field maps and thinks he is a forest fairy. The guide then details the mayor's residence and the mayor himself, noting his indecisiveness, and his wife Aroma Lady, suggesting players explore her room. It mentions the milk bar latte, highlighting its owner who resembles Talon from Ocarina of Time, and the appearance of Gorman, pointing out a membership card is needed to enter during business hours. The Nabekama Inn in Clocktown is described, mentioning it is open until 8:30 p.m., and how Deku flowers can be used to access upper floors. Honey and Darling Shop is featured, where you can play a Bombchu bowling minigame for 10 rupees between 6 a.m. and 10 p.m. The town shooting gallery is also covered, noting it's inaccessible without arrows, and open from 6 a.m. to 10 p.m. The treasure chest shop minigame, costing 20 rupees per play, and open from 6 a.m. to 10 p.m., is introduced. Finally, Anju is featured, mentioning her wedding on Carnival Day and her role at the Nabekama Inn. This page is a guide for the game The Legend of Zelda, Majora's Mask, focusing on the Termina Field and the path to the Deku Palace. It's part 2 of the guide and directs players on how to navigate from Clocktown outwards, specifically to the south. The guide provides step-by-step instructions for progressing through Termina Field in the southern direction, highlighting different paths leading to Snowhead to the north, Great Bay to the west, Milk Road to the east, and Icona Valley. It also gives tips for dealing with enemies and obstacles in these areas, such as using Deku Nuts against Deku Babas, and being cautious of blue bubbles. A section at the bottom details how to obtain a piece of heart in Termina Field by defeating a Peahot in a hidden hole in the southwest grass area. This strategy guide excerpt details navigating the Majora's Mask swamp area. Rescuing Kume in the mysterious woods is crucial, involving a boat cruise from Swamp Tourist Information. To get the boat cruise, find Kume at the Magic Hag's house. Players can acquire a heart piece in the swamp by giving a land deed, obtained from Clocktown by exchanging the Moon's Tear, to a business scrub, then using a Deku flower. After reviving Kume with red medicine, a boat cruise becomes available. The pictograph box is obtained from Kume and allows progress past Octoroks on the boat. Learning the Song of Awakening is also covered, achieved by checking owl statues, activated by sword slashes, to warp to locations. The guide includes diagrams of the daily changing maze and a swamp map, aiding navigation through locations like the Swamp Shooting Gallery and the Magic Hag's house. This page is a walkthrough for the Deku Palace area in The Legend of Zelda, Majora's Mask. It's part 3 of a guide focusing on Dekunatsu's Castle Woodfall and is titled Dekunatsu's Castle Monkey Rescue Operation. The guide details how to infiltrate the castle courtyard, noting that Link is treated as a Dekunatsu Link here. It mentions that by talking to the monkey in the cage in the castle, you can get hints. The walkthrough then gives route instructions for the central garden area, explaining how to proceed through the maze-like garden, avoiding guards, and reaching the king's chamber. It mentions finding magic beans and fresh water in the area. Screenshots show gameplay in the Deku Palace garden, highlighting locations and actions like entering holes in the ground and using Deku flowers to jump. There's a section detailing how to get a heart piece in the courtyard, advising players to get it before entering the A-hole in the ground. It also describes using Deku flowers to jump across the garden and defeat Dekunatsus with bubbles. The guide advises that infiltrating the central garden is easier at night as the guard's line of sight is visible. The next page is a strategy guide for The Legend of Zelda, Majora's Mask, titled Strategy Hint Book. Step 2 is about learning the Sonata of Awakening, and it mentions, after clearing the Deku flower jump in the middle garden sky, you can enter the Ori. It says to return to Deku Nuts Link and talk to the captured monkey. In Step 3, head to Woodfall. It explains that after learning the Sonata of Awakening, use the Deku flower to go to the upper sky in the place where the gatekeeper is. It advises heading to Woodfall, referring to page 69 for the map, and warns about falling on the way down. Step 4 is about getting the Great Fairy Mask. It mentions there are many hidden fairies in the dungeon, and the Great Fairy Mask is very useful. It suggests getting the Great Fairy from Clocktown's north side before meeting the Great Fairy in the dungeon. The page also shows screenshots of gameplay, including interactions with the monkey and navigating the Woodfall area using Deku flowers, and also shows obtaining the Great Fairy Mask at the Great Fairy Fountain. It mentions that Hiploops can be defeated in 2 hits with bubbles, and that in Woodfall Dungeon, returning to Link form is basically unnecessary. It points out a location marked A on the map, which has a stone statue of a Fukuro and a suspicious Deku Nuts mark stand. The Legend of Zelda: Majora's Mask promises a deep and challenging adventure beyond the initial stages. Goron Link's adventure highlights diverse environments, including lava-filled dungeons. The Zora Band, Dal Blue, is officially named, with in-game advertisements adding to the game's world-building. With animals, hints at interactions with various creatures like dogs and frogs. Female Pirate vs Zora Link suggests challenging combat scenarios, reminiscent of battles from the previous game. In a dim graveyard, teases the return of graveyards and potentially familiar characters. Finally, vs Skeleton Soldiers emphasizes enhanced enemy AI thanks to the N64 expansion pack, and notes improvements in enemy movement, along with Navi's more abrupt dialogue. This page is a feature article focusing on The Legend of Zelda: Majora's Mask. The article discusses the development team's goals for this new Zelda title, specifically what they aim to achieve beyond Ocarina of Time. It highlights the core concepts of the game, including the innovative 3-day system and the mask transformation mechanic. Screenshots from the game are featured, showing Link in various scenarios, including interacting with a fairy and as a Deku Scrub. The article seems to delve into the reasons behind creating a sequel that deviates from the familiar Ocarina of Time formula, emphasizing the desire to explore new gameplay systems and deliver a fresh experience. This page is an advertisement for The Legend of Zelda: Majora's Mask for the Nintendo 64. The advert emphasizes the darker, spookier tone of this Zelda adventure, with the tagline, "This Zelda is spooky scary." It highlights the game's unique elements, such as the mysterious characters, Link encounters, and the impending doom of the moon falling within the final 3 days. The page features various screenshots from the game showcasing gameplay and characters. It clearly states that the game cannot be played without the Memory Expansion Pack, which is also advertised and priced at 7,800 yen, while the game cartridge itself is priced at 5,800 yen, both prices excluding tax. The advert announces the game is on sale now in Japan. Lesson 36 from the Death Hermit's Gorilla Classroom explains liquid crystal displays, LCDs, detailing how polarized filters and crystals manipulate light to form images. The lesson also clarifies that Famicom graphics are computer graphics, CG, and defines mobile as relating to portability. For aspiring game developers, the page recommends learning a programming language or using game development tools like RPG Maker 2000. The page includes a screenshot of a potential RPG game with an approving comment. This lesson focuses on technology relevant to the N64 era, addressing reader questions about computer graphics, display technology, and game development. Quote, "This page is an article titled, 'This Time It's Internet,' discussing the launch of the 64DD network service RANnet on February 24th. The reporter, Yutaka Obuchi, reflects on the early days of the Internet, about 10 years prior, when information from overseas took weeks to arrive. He highlights how the Internet has evolved, allowing people to exchange information easily, and considers it a significant development, especially in the gaming world. The article mentions accessing N64 game-related websites, and how websites have shifted from individual creations to corporate presences. It also touches on using web browsers on TV screens, and anticipates the release of more network-compatible games. A screenshot is shown of the RANnet email receiving screen interface, encouraging users to send emails to friends on the service. The article concludes by discussing the personal experiences of the reporter in the early Internet era, mentioning accessing American N64 game websites through a dial-up connection, and corresponding with individuals in the U.S. involved in game magazines. This page is a review section showcasing impressions of 2 Nintendo 64 games. The first game discussed is Kirby 64, The Crystal Shards, with the reviewer noting their anticipation as a Kirby series fan and praising the ability mixing mechanic. They also highlight the impressive 2D graphics that create a 3D effect, as well as the engaging movie scenes and minigames. They enjoyed the minigames so much, they compared the excitement to Mario Party 2, and were happy to see minigames in a Kirby title. The second game featured is Custom Robo, focusing on its scenario mode, which is highly praised. The reviewer mentions the game was released at the end of 1999, and emphasizes the appealing story and characters. They point out the well-crafted dialogue and how immersive the story becomes as you play. The game's settings and helpful in-game explanations of jargon are also appreciated. The reviewer humorously wishes for real-life parks to have custom robo-battle arenas. They also mention the adjustable difficulty, making it accessible for beginners to clear the game with practice. It is noted that Bandai is releasing plastic models based on the game, and there was an interview with Mr. Kenjiro Kitawe of Athena in Weekly Famitsu, hinting at future games set in the custom Robo universe. The page includes screenshots from both Kirby 64 and custom Robo, showing gameplay and customization aspects. This page is from the N64 forum and is a collection of readers' letters. The first letter discusses the pronunciation of 64 in Nintendo 64 and game titles. The reader prefers the pronunciation Rokuyuyan 64 over Rokuyan 64, and feels it sounds better for titles like Super Mario 64, Mario Kart 64, and Donkey Kong 64. Another reader writes in about Luigi in the Luigi Supplement Plan section, wanting to know what everyone thinks of Luigi, and stating they are a secret Luigi fan who believes Luigi is the savior of the Mario universe. They mention the previous month's article, Luigi is Mario's cosplay, and express disagreement. They feel Luigi is crucial to the Mario series, highlighting his presence in games like Mario Brothers, and questioning what Mario games would be without Luigi. There's also a section about side characters are great too, where a reader in Tochigi Prefecture talks about liking side characters, using Hitoke, Charmander, from Pokemon as an example, and saying they are a Hitoke and Ebu fan. Lastly, there's a recommendation of sports section from a reader in Nagasaki Prefecture who discusses sports games on N64 and PlayStation, mentioning that while graphics were initially impressive in RPGs, they found sports games like Wave Race 64, Pilot Wings 64, F-Zero X, and Mario Golf to be more consistently fun and enjoyable over time, valuing gameplay over graphics. They conclude by saying they enjoyed playing sports games like Mario's sports titles. This page is the Readers Forum section, featuring opinions and thoughts from 64Dream readers. One reader from Kagawa Prefecture discusses the predictable nature of Nintendo games and questions if a childish approach is acceptable, mentioning they own NES, SNES, and N64, and their child references Mario games on NES and SNES. Another reader from Aichi Prefecture talks about playing Super Smash Bros. And wishing for a similar game called Great Brawl 64Dream Brothers. They mention Zelda, Ocarina of Time being sold cheaply, and the Game Boy Transfer Pack. A reader from Mia Prefecture mentions the popularity of PS2, feeling somewhat isolated as a Nintendo user, but appreciates 64Dream magazine's valuable content, wishing to contribute, but lacking ideas. A reader from Ibaraki Prefecture finds the articles enjoyable and easy to read, hoping for more of the same. Finally, a reader from Hyogo Prefecture shares a funny anecdote about a lucky, thick eyebrow of a friend at high school exam results, where touching it was rumored to bring good luck. In a section titled New Nintendo Posture, there is a reader's question with code S084 asking about Dolphin Next Generation, hinting at the upcoming GameCube console. There's also an announcement regarding a previous forum page discussion about moderating bug arguments to avoid issues from anonymous posts. This page is focused on using the 64DD for Internet access, titled 64DD Internet Super Basics. It covers fundamental knowledge for first-time Internet users on the 64DD's RandNet disk. The page includes sections on website searching using Excite Search and Yahoo Japan, email writing, and protecting personal information online. It highlights the importance of using a handle name online instead of a real name for privacy, and cautions against sharing personal details in emails or online bulletin boards. The page also features a section called Shopkeepers Meetings Words, showing images of Virtual Boy and Nintendo 64 consoles, mentioning that Nintendo is famous for playing cards and that big titles are released on new hardware. Lastly, this month's I'll Buy This section talks about the game Jikyu Powerful Pro Yakyu 2000, Power Pro Baseball 2000, a baseball game from the Power Pro series. It was released on May 20th and is highly anticipated, praising its realistic baseball experience and addictive success mode for developing original players. It is described as a game that will keep players engaged for a long time. This page is an Akihabara price survey for Nintendo 64 games and hardware from April 11th. It notes that prices are generally falling, but popular titles like Kirby 64, The Crystal Shards are still hard to find and maintain high prices. Bass Fishing No. 1, Ketaiban, is mentioned as selling well shortly after release. The page lists prices for various N64 consoles and games in Akihabara stores. It also has a section highlighting Namco Museum 64, which features 6 titles including Pac-Man, Miss Pac-Man, Galaxian, Galaga, Dig Dug, and Pole Position. The text mentions that these are arcade versions and describes the difficulty as being slightly higher than the home console versions. It suggests it's a good value ROM cartridge for playing these classics. This page presents a catalog of Super Famicom and Game Boy games, available for the Nintendo Power Service. The Super Famicom selection features popular titles such as the Super Donkey Kong Country Trilogy, Super Metroid, Super Street Fighter II Turbo, and games from the Mega Man and Final Fight series. Also listed are Kirby's Dream Course, Super Bomberman 3, and Super Mario World. The RPG category includes games like FIDA, The Emblem of Justice, Shin Megami Tensei 2, Glory of Hercules the 4V, Dragon Slayer, The Legend of Heroes, and titles from the Fire Emblem series including Fire Emblem, Thracia 776, and Fire Emblem, Mystery of the Emblem puzzle games. Puzzle games like Mario's Super Picross and Tetris Attack are also featured. Action games, table games such as F-Zero, and simulation games including Fire Emblem and Tactics Ogre are part of this catalog. The Game Boy section lists titles like the Dokapon series and RPG Maker. The tables provided with each game list details, such as memory capacity, SRAM requirements, the game maker, and price, suggesting this is a price list for downloading these games onto Nintendo Power cartridges. This page is a Nintendo Doubleheader interview feature. It highlights interviews with 5 Nintendo creators across 2 games. The first game is the highly anticipated N64 title, The Legend of Zelda: Majora's Mask. The developers interviewed for this game are Eiji Aonuma, Shigeru Miyamoto, and Yoshiaki Koizumi. The second interview is for the well-received Game Boy Color title, Trade and Battle: Card Hero, featuring developers Yoshio Sakamoto and Takehiro Izushi. The page is structured as a double match, showcasing these 2 game interviews. This page is a doubleheader interview focusing on The Legend of Zelda: Majora's Mask. It's the first part of the interview and features Shigeru Miyamoto, Eiji Aonuma, and Yoshiaki Koizumi, who are all key figures in the development of the game. Miyamoto is listed as the producer, Aonuma as the game system director, and Koizumi also as a game system director. The interview discusses how Majora's Mask came about after Ocarina of Time. Miyamoto explains that Ocarina of Time was commercially successful, and they wanted to quickly follow it up, aiming to release a new Zelda title in just 1 year, which was an ambitious goal. Aonuma mentions his previous involvement with Ocarina of Time as a dungeon and enemy director, and how for Majora's Mask he was in charge of the main direction. Koizumi talks about his role in the previous game as a character designer and animator, and for this title his work on subquests and event direction. The interview touches on the team's confidence and the idea of creating a new game using the same system as Ocarina of Time. There's a screenshot shown from the game with text that says, "Borrow the power of masks." They also mention that Miyamoto didn't really give much input on the specifics of the game, trusting the team, and they were aiming to not have to write specification documents on site during development, indicating a streamlined process compared to previous projects. This interview dives into the development of The Legend of Zelda: Majora's Mask, a sequel to Ocarina of Time. Developers discuss how the game evolved from its core theme, with the initial scenario nearly entirely scrapped and rebuilt. Full production began in December '98. Culminating in a year-long development cycle. The conversation highlights the refinement of the game system and the focus on creating new character designs and story elements, aiming for a different worldview from the usual Hyrule setting. The developers aimed to create a unique experience that could accommodate diverse playstyles, from shorter to longer engagements. Challenges included constant adjustments and a trial-and-error approach. However, the foundation from Ocarina of Time, particularly in character movement, allowed for a focus on fresh gameplay experiences and a stable, high-quality final product. The next page is a Nintendo doubleheader interview, the first part focusing on Majora's Mask. The interview features developers Aonuma and Miyamoto discussing the game's development. They talk about the initial concept of having 1 week in-game time before the moon falls, which was later changed to 3 days. The discussion touches upon how the limited time frame influenced dungeon design and game systems, making it a compact experience compared to the larger scale of Ocarina of Time, which they mentioned took about 60 hours to play. They aimed for Majora's Mask to be around 80 hours of gameplay. The interview highlights the challenge of creating something new within a shorter development time, and how they aim to make a game that players could enjoy without stress. The page also features screenshots of in-game dialogue and character art of Link and Zelda in the art style of Ocarina of Time. An interview regarding The Legend of Zelda. Majora's Mask highlights the game's innovative design. The Bomber's Notebook and 3-day cycle are central to this. The interview with Koizumi and Miyamoto discusses how the notebook enriches gameplay after gaining time manipulation abilities. Koizumi emphasizes the notebook's use even for those prioritizing dungeons. Players can experience the ending and then explore additional content, such as mask collection. The game separates dungeon and town events, providing independent progression paths. Miyamoto praises the depth created by the notebook and the 3-day system, allowing repeated exploration of events and storylines. He points out the ability to replay boss battles, enhancing replayability and fostering engagement through dynamic world interactions, rather than solely dungeon-focused gameplay. Screenshots illustrate these elements, including gameplay and character art. In a Nintendo doubleheader interview, Miyamoto and Koizumi discuss a game with a unique 3-day system, reminiscent of The Legend of Zelda, Ocarina of Time. This system, meant to be learned with their bodies by the players, introduces a challenging time limit. The developers aim for a high-stakes experience, where a failure can occur quickly. They compare the experience to a film where the protagonist dies, creating a "what happened" feeling. The interview explores the balance between the time constraint and player freedom. The developers want players to feel a sense of accomplishment, even within the time limit, and accept that replaying the game and learning from mistakes is central to the design. A time limit, they estimate, translates to roughly 1.5 to 2 hours of gameplay. A screenshot, possibly from an early version of Majora's Mask, showcases familiar visuals from Ocarina of Time. This page offers a developer interview on The Legend of Zelda, Majora's Mask. Key topics include the mechanics of time, which, instead of rewinding, restarts the 3-day cycle, and the game's use of the Memory Expansion Pack to enhance character management and expressions. The interview also explores the game's unique, mysterious atmosphere, focusing on the diverse races and world design. Transformations like Deku, Goron, and Zora Links influence movement speed, a crucial gameplay element alongside the ticking clock. The hint system evolves from Navi-like guidance to player freedom, with context-specific hints available. Furthermore, the interview highlights the significance of non-player characters and side stories, such as the Anju event, emphasizing the effort put into their development. The characters Chet and Navi are further clarified, with Chet intended to be a brusque, older sister-like guide. The page includes character artwork and in-game screenshots. This page is a Nintendo doubleheader interview, the second match focusing on the game Card Hero. It's an interview with Yoshio Sakamoto, the director and game designer, and Takahiro Izushi, the producer of Card Hero. Sakamoto mentions he's happy with the game's reception, especially the good sales numbers, but personally wishes more core gamers would play it too. He describes the game as having simple rules but with depth, making it accessible for elementary school children from 3rd grade upwards, but still engaging for older players. He notes that even 2nd graders can play it, despite the recommended age. Sakamoto highlights the importance of communication and sharing with the game, suggesting parents play with their children. He mentions the positive feedback, including surprise at the game's depth and fun. He's pleased that players feel connected to the game's world and characters. He also notes feedback from users on the internet, including homepage creations and kind emails. The interview also touches upon Nintendo's environment, allowing for unique game creation, summarized by the phrase, "margin in Nintendo because it is Nintendo," implying Nintendo's resources and creative freedom enabled the development of Card Hero. The page includes screenshots from Card Hero and caricatures of the interviewees. This page is a Nintendo doubleheader interview focusing on the game Trade and Battle, Card Hero. The interview discusses the game's concept, aiming for a nostalgic but new feeling. The developers wanted to create a game that players could enjoy through their own ingenuity and strategy, ensuring the rules were easy to understand, and that players could readily grasp the gameplay. They emphasized the Game Boy aspect, hoping players would want to carry it with them everywhere. The interview touches on the tutorial design to make it engaging, and the game's difficulty to ensure losses aren't too discouraging. There's a screenshot of the gameplay and an illustration of the character, Maruhige shop owner, who is mentioned to be set as born in Showa 32. The overall intention was to create an enjoyable game with a manageable level of tension. This page is an interview section titled Nintendo Doubleheader Interview, focused on game design, specifically how a card game concept started from drawing cards on drawing paper. The interview discusses the development of a game called Card Hero, noting that the main aspect is the Battle Center and Pro Rules system. The developers explain their initial ideas involved using drawing paper to create cards and iterating through prototypes. They mentioned that in the early stages they were using drawing paper for card creation and focused on getting the card design and shape right. The development team was small, consisting of about 10 people. They highlight that the most challenging part of the development was defining the fundamental rules of the game, even more so than the tutorial. The interview also references the Game Boy Pocket as an inspiration, noting its appeal as a portable and engaging device and how they wanted to capture that essence in their game. There's also a mention of Magic: The Gathering and its influence on card battles and strategy. The next page features a Nintendo Doubleheader interview focusing on the game Card Hero. The interview discusses the game's mechanics, emphasizing the recycling of master hit points into stones, which adds a strategic layer. The developers aimed to create a system that was easy to understand yet enjoyable and satisfying. They mentioned that the game was designed with consideration for players' thinking time during turns, and the importance of creating compelling and funny dialogue for the characters. There is a discussion about the game's art style, with the developers noting a unique quirkiness to the illustrations and mentioning they aimed for characters that could become as popular as Pikachu. The interview also touches upon the difficulty of balancing card collection and completion within the game, with a focus on making sure players can complete the game without needing to resort to special event cards. A screenshot shows in-game action with cards and characters. This page is a Nintendo Doubleheader interview focusing on a game called Card Hero. The interview discusses the concept of the game, emphasizing its design as an enjoyable card game where players collect cards, trade with friends, and utilize a card machine mechanic involving exchanging 3 old cards for 1 new one. The game is designed to encourage self-reliance and problem-solving. The interviewer inquires about the game's availability in stores and the possibility of a release outside of Japan, to which Sakamoto indicates that Nintendo is considering overseas markets due to the popularity of card games like Magic in America. Sakamoto describes Card Hero as a painless, fun game aimed at a wide audience including children, focusing on creating an enjoyable experience without causing frustration. There's a screenshot visible of the Game Boy game Metroid 2: Return of Samus on the page as well, seemingly as a side reference to Nintendo's game library. This page features a doubleheader interview related to the Nintendo Game Boy Color title, Card Hero. The interview is between Sakamoto and Izushi, who discuss various aspects of the game's development. Sakamoto humorously mentions his lack of drawing skills, despite contributing to the opening scene's storyboard. They delve into topics like game balancing, ROM development, and the creation of the master version. The conversation touches upon trading cards and their storage within the development department, and the iterative process of playtesting and balance adjustments. Izushi shares insights into creating the Bomuzu card, even using clay for its design. They also recount anecdotes about game testing and level design. Interestingly, the conversation shifts to a lighter note, mentioning Starbucks coffee chocolate beans and a funny story about the director behaving like a child. Below the interview is an announcement for a Win Presents campaign, offering 5 different prizes to lucky readers. These include Nintendo Company information signed by 4 people, a Legend of Zelda, Ocarina of Time CD, a 64Dream original telephone card, a 64Dream original Game Boy Color game, and a rare Maruhige shop badge. The page also details how to enter the prize draw, instructing readers to send in postcards with necessary information by May 20, 2000. This page is from the N64 question box and features Nintendo's official Q&A section with Hongu-san from the Public Relations Department answering questions. One question asks about announcements regarding Dolphin, which we now know as GameCube, and Game Boy Advance. Hongo-san answers that announcements concerning these will be made at the end of May. They mention that announcements for N64 and Game Boy related matters, including sales figures, are typically revealed around that time each year. Another question asks about rumors in a newspaper suggesting the Game Boy Advance launch might be difficult. Hongu-san dismisses this, stating there is no such issue and the reports are based on speculation from economic reporters. They clarify that while there are global shortages of components like LCD panels and electronic parts, affecting production capacity to around 1.5 million units per month. This is not a situation that prevents release. Hongushan emphasizes that Game Boy Advance is a vital product for Nintendo and is expected to sell very well from launch. They state that the release will happen once sufficient stock is secured. Additionally, it's mentioned that the release of The Legend of Zelda: Majora's Mask is approaching, coinciding with Golden Week. The article also references the Nintendo Space World event scheduled in Chiba Prefecture during the summer vacation period at Makuhari Messe from August 24th to 26th. Inviting users to attend. Finally, it's noted that Nintendo aims to keep the price of compatible software for the Game Boy Advance under 1,000 yen. This Q&A focuses on Nintendo 64 games. Kirby 64. The Crystal Shards is selling well due to its popularity, even outperforming Pokémon, and features a cute CG commercial and a mixability feature. The Legend of Zelda: Majora's Mask is the focus of the other questions, with its commercial described as scary and unsettling, leading to some requests for its removal. The game's PR emphasizes a unique, different worldview and richer environments, utilizing the memory expansion pack, and allows for multiple boss fights. The final question addresses whether the game can be completed without a guide, suggesting it's possible, but a guide could be helpful due to the 3-day system encouraging repeated exploration and potential missed content. This page is a Q&A section from a magazine and features 4 questions about Nintendo 64 games and related topics. The first question is about the release date of the Game Boy Zelda game. The answer confirms it will be released within the year, referring to the Oracle of Seasons and Oracle of Ages games, which are planned as a series of 3 parts with staggered monthly releases. The second question asks about a Mario sports game, and the answer reveals it to be Mario Tennis 64. It mentions Camelot as the developer, and hints at the upcoming releases of Mario RPG 2 and Furai no Siren 2 as N64 titles, with release dates to be decided in consultation with Chunsoft. The third question is about the next-generation portable Game Boy. The answer confirms a release next year, referring to the Game Boy Advance, and mentions features like communication and downloading scenarios to expand gameplay. The final question is about the shipment numbers of Pokémon Gold and Silver. The response indicates that Pokémon Silver had higher shipments compared to Gold, with over 7 million units shipped by the end of March. Adding Pokémon Pikachu, the total shipment for the series reached 34 million units. This page addresses reader questions about the Nintendo 64. One query concerns the company president's appearance in Talent Studio, explained as a collaborative effort to create enjoyable content. Another question addresses Mr. Shigesato Ito's presence in Bass Fishing No. 1 commercials, created using digital photography. The final N64 question explains the absence of title screens in many early games, attributed to the cartridge's instant play advantage over CD-ROMs. Later N64 games did include title screens. A separate section discusses Super Mario Bros. Deluxe on the Game Boy, highlighting its popularity, portability, and upcoming Japanese release. This Q&A section discusses Nintendo's involvement in several areas. Upcoming TV programs, particularly Gagipara Empire 2000, are highlighted, with Nintendo sponsoring the show and numerous others across different channels, including anime and game-related programs. An Illustration King contest on TV Tokyo, featuring Nintendo's Mr. Imamura, is also mentioned, with his drawing of Majora's Mask scheduled to be showcased. The article also explores the close relationship between Nintendo and HAL Laboratory, dating back to the Famicom era, and encompassing Nintendo's financial support of HAL. Finally, the difference between the Super Famicom and Super Famicom Junior is clarified. The Junior is a budget version with reduced features and a lower price, though the controllers are functionally the same. This page is from the N64 question box section and features questions from readers answered by Takashi Tezuka, the Information Development Department Manager at Nintendo. The questions revolve around how to become a game creator. Tezuka-san advises that while there are no specific qualifications, a broad university education is helpful, especially art college for designers and science for programmers. He emphasizes the importance of communication skills and having a unique strength. He also mentions that Nintendo is looking for young talent to create the culture of the future. There's also a call for readers to submit their N64-related questions to the N64 question box by post or fax. A small side section called Extra Question Box addresses a question about the release timing of Panel de Pon 64, stating they are aiming to release it as soon as possible. The page also contains screenshots of the Nintendo Online Magazine website from April 2000, used as a visual element related to online content for N64. This page is a news article focusing on the Game Boy Advance and its potential integration with mobile phone technology. It discusses the initial announcement in 1999 and further details revealed in March 2001 regarding a device combining the Game Boy Advance with a mobile phone, set for release in 2001. The article explores questions around this integration, such as the cost, functionality, and potential delays. It mentions the high performance of the Game Boy Advance and the possibility of using mobile phone networks for data communication, but notes the slower speed of current mobile data compared to faster technologies like CDMA1. The article also touches upon potential release delays for the Game Boy Advance due to shortages of LCD screens and the popularity of the Game Boy Color. It questions if the release date of August might be pushed back and if the GB Color's popularity is impacting production. Finally, it briefly mentions the Dolphin, which is Nintendo's codename for the GameCube and the Xbox, and the possibility of software being supplied to both platforms, including DVD technology being developed for Dolphin that might also be used for Xbox. It mentions that negotiations were underway. Games mentioned are Mario and Pokemon in the context of Xbox. This page announces several upcoming releases and reports on the Tokyo Game Show 2000. Pocket Sakura, a Game Boy Color title in the Sakura Wars series with data exchange capabilities, is scheduled for June. The Tokyo Game Show, with 130,000 attendees, saw a slight decrease in attendance, possibly due to the PS2 launch. Upcoming games include Card Hero, Magical Hyperworld, a card battle game for the GBC with trading card packs, releasing April 28th. Noor Fishing 64 Typhoon is coming. For the N64 is slated for a May 26th software release, with a commercial shoot in Hawaii featuring a swimsuit model. A reader submission shows a Pokemon lighter. Finally, Nuyel, a Game Boy Color-compatible sewing machine for creating game-themed patterns, will be released in May, priced between 50,000 and 60,000 yen. This page covers a range of gaming news. It announces the upcoming N64 game, The World Is Not Enough, developed by Electronic Arts Japan, and anticipates its release. It also references the success of the previous 007 game, GoldenEye 007. The article reports on the 4th Annual Japan Game Awards, held at the Tokyo International Forum. Public and CESA member voting selected 20 winners from 150 entries. Doko Demo Isho, PlayStation, won the grand prize, while Pokemon Gold and Silver, Game Boy, received an Outstanding Performance Award. The page lists winners across various categories, highlighting PlayStation titles like Dance Dance Revolution and Final Fantasy V 2i. Additionally, the page sadly reports the bankruptcy of Bottom Up, developer of the 64 Big Sumo series for the N64. Finally, it provides an update on the construction progress of Nintendo's new headquarters, aiming for completion in 2000, and ends with a reflection on the Japan Game Awards and their evolving judging process. This page highlights 2 Game Boy games and some accessories. The first game featured is for the Game Boy Color, Metal Gear Ghost Babel, which is described as an action-adventure game in the Metal Gear series. It emphasizes action elements, like sticking to walls and using actions to clear stages. The game also features VR training and time attack modes, focusing on action training and high replayability. The second game is for the original Game Boy, Carpenter Gensan Kachikachi no Tonkachi ga Kachi, an action puzzle game starring the familiar character Carpenter Gensan, and it mentions using 3 types of hammers. The page also features a small comic strip called Link's Uki-Uki Great Adventure, with Link and a Zelda-like character discussing world peace and seeing the future. Finally, there are adverts for new Game Boy Color straps with Mario and Donkey Kong Jr. characters, and the Pokemon 64 carry bag for N64 consoles, controllers, and accessories, available in red and blue. This page introduces the upcoming Game Boy Color game, Sakura Wars GB. It highlights that the popular Sakura Wars series from Sega Saturn is coming to the Game Boy platform. The game is described as featuring adventure and battle simulation elements, and it will include the LIP system, known from the Saturn version, where player choices and response times influence the story. The article showcases various characters including Sakura Shinguji, Iris Chateaubriand, Sumire Kanzaki, Kana Kirishima, Maria Tachibana, Yuri Sakakibara, Rikoran, and Ayame Fujieda, and presents examples of dialogue choices and their potential good and bad outcomes within the LIP system. Mini-games are also being developed for Sakura Wars GB. This page introduces Mr. Driller for the Game Boy Color, an arcade-style drilling action puzzle game starring Susumu, the protagonist. It explains the gameplay involves drilling downwards through blocks, managing an air meter which depletes over time, and collecting air capsules to replenish it. X blocks decrease the air meter if drilled. The game has 3 modes: a trial 500 meters, a serious 1000 meters, and an endless driller mode where you simply keep drilling downwards. The goal in some modes is to reach 1000 meters depth. The page highlights the fun and engaging nature of the drilling gameplay. It also notes the game was released on June 28th and priced at 3,800 yen. This page previews 2 games. The first section is for Narrated 3 on Game Boy Color, an RPG scheduled for release in July with a price of 4,300 yen. It highlights that this new installment is for Game Boy Color, meaning it is not compatible with older series games for part exchange. The game features new systems, including stadium battles and meta change, where robots transform during battle for stronger attacks. Screenshots show gameplay and introduce new Narrated types: Kabuto type, Kuwagata type, Tiger type, and Lion type. The second section is for Ojaru Maru, Moonlit Pond is Treasure Island, on Game Boy Color, a TAB genre game scheduled for release on May 28th at a price of 3,980 yen. The preview describes the story, where Ojaru Maru and his friends find golden stink bugs near a moonlit pond. The game revolves around dice rolling and advancing on a map called Moonlight Town. Screenshots show the game map and characters like Ojaru Maru and his companions. The page mentions that players can gather items on the map and encounter familiar Ojaru Maru characters. The aim is to become the winner by collecting stink bugs. This page highlights 2 Game Boy Color games. The first is Telefang, Power Version, and Telefang, Speed Version, developed by Smilesoft. This game is priced at 4,500 yen and focuses on battling and befriending creatures called Denju, using portable phones, which was a popular trend among kids at the time. You can use your in-game phone to call out and meet new Denju and battle with friends. The screenshots show gameplay in the field and battles. The second game is Master Fisher Adventure, Kite's Adventure, an RPG from Victor Interactive Software priced at 4,200 yen. This game is all about fishing, offering both sea and river fishing. The story revolves around the protagonist Kite, who finds a message in a bottle on the beach and embarks on an adventure to find his missing father and help a princess. Screenshots show fishing scenes, dialogue, and a constellation viewing feature that is unique to the Game Boy Color. This fishing adventure offers a wide range of fishing locations and over 70 types of fish to catch and enjoy. This page showcases previews for handheld games, including 2 Game Boy Color titles featuring Hello Kitty, Hello Kitty's Sweet Adventure I Want to Meet Daniel Kuhn, and Dear Daniel's Sweet Adventure Search for Kitty-chan. Both are adventure games, set to release on June 10th by Imagineer, priced at 3,980 yen each. The page highlights the story aspects, where Kitty and Daniel, childhood friends separated by Daniel's father's work, set out to meet in New York and London respectively. The games feature communication elements, allowing players to exchange photos, costumes, and messages using a communication cable, along with mini-games and quizzes to increase love points. Additionally, the page previews Beyblade Fighting Tournament for Game Boy Color by Hudson, an adventure game where players can power up their Beyblades and compete in tournaments. The game allows for Beyblade customization with various parts like bit chips, attack rings, weight discs, and blade bases to create original Beyblades. It emphasizes battling rivals in tournaments at locations such as the Turtle Stadium and Tiger Stadium. This page showcases 4 Game Boy and Game Boy Color games. Big Gensan Clack Clack Hammer is an action game where you, as the character Gensan, battle the Kurokumogumi Company using a hammer. Ferret Story Dear My Ferret is a simulation game centered around raising and interacting with a ferret, including minigames. Dino Breeder 4 is a dinosaur breeding simulation allowing players to collect eggs, breed new species, and engage in battles. Finally, Goldfish Story is a goldfish breeding simulation with conversation contests. Additionally, an advertisement promotes the Nintendo Power GB rewrite system, listing several Game Boy and Game Boy Color games, their genres, memory sizes, and rewrite prices. This page of 64DD Communication brings monthly news for 64DD fans. The first section talks about the renewal of Stakara, a RANnet exclusive male character collection. This feature is being updated with new character series like Sports, Robot, and Jewelry, and will allow players to battle and exchange characters. The illustration hall showcases fan artwork, with a lot of submissions inspired by FZEROX and calls for more cool machine illustrations. The Get Mall section is advertising 64DD software and goods available for purchase, highlighting upcoming titles such as Japan Pro Golf Tour 64 and the unique title Giant Adult Dashing Liberation War Big Bibico Team Assembly. And mentions a pre-order bonus for early buyers including tickets to a World Dashing Fair. Lastly, LANnet Fan is introduced as a corner for LANnet users, featuring sections like Monochrome Tsukeyo for questions and answers, a message board, and Young Now for RANnet news and messages. This page showcases the game Giant Doshin Release Strategy Chibico Great Assembly, which appears to be a follow-up to Doshin the Giant. The page highlights that Chico might be related to Hearts in the game. For fans of Doshin, this game is set in the dreamlike world of the 1996 World Doshin Expo. You, as a Doshin fan, are invited to play in this dream setting. The Queen Companions from the game are giving urgent orders, and to understand these orders, you're supposed to watch a movie called Giant Doshin More Than Giant, included in this game. This movie summarizes the story of Giant Doshin 1 across 17 episodes, and aims to solve mysteries within the game's narrative. Gameplay involves releasing Doshin by placing Chico, or hearts, onto an iron grid. By giving Doshin hearts, you make him larger. Game details include its genre as a shooting game for one player, priced at 3,333 yen, and it's noted as an auxiliary disc for Giant Doshin 1. It's developed by Param Liberation Army faction and published by LANnet DD, with a planned release in late May. This title appears to be exclusive to Japan and related to the original Doshin the Giant on the Nintendo 64. This page introduces the F-Zero-X expansion kit for the 64DD, highlighting it as a major upgrade to the original N64 game. The key feature is the Course Edit mode, allowing players to create their own tracks with intuitive tools to adjust curves, slopes, tunnels, and more. It's emphasized that you can make courses in about a minute, with fine-tuning as you play being the fun part. New content includes DD1 KUP, DD2 KUP, and Edit KUP race series, with the latter using your custom-built courses. Additionally, 3 new high-performance machines, Super Falcon, Super Stingray, and White Cat, are added to the roster, alongside Blue Falcon and Fire Stingray. The 64DD's enhanced storage allows you to save up to 100 original courses and machines, letting you share creations and ghost data with friends, with 3 ghost data slots per course. The options menu is briefly shown, featuring VS Computer Modes, VS Slot, VS Handicap Match, Sound Mode, and All Data Clear, and mentions new stereo BGM. This page promotes the N64 game Japan Pro Golf Tour 64, presenting 10 amazing golf courses that can be played in the game. The page details the location and tournament names for each course. It also provides an update on upcoming and released 64DD software. Scheduled for release are titles such as F-Zero-X Expansion Kit and Japan Pro Golf Tour 64 itself, alongside other games with tentative titles. Released 64DD software listed includes games like Mario Artist Paint Studio, Mario Artist Talent Studio, and SimCity 64. The page's main focus is to highlight the golf game and the expanding library of 64DD games. This page is dedicated to showcasing fan-submitted illustrations, with a prominent focus on Nintendo 64 games. The section is titled Illustration Special Hall of Fame. Many of the featured artworks are inspired by The Legend of Zelda, Majora's Mask, including depictions of Link in various styles, such as one designed as stained glass, and another with characters from the game. Illustrations also include characters from The Legend of Zelda, Ocarina of Time like Scenaria and Malon. Beyond Zelda, there's fan art for Pokemon, featuring Pikachu, and Trade and Battle, Card Hero, showing characters playing cards. The text accompanying each illustration includes brief comments, expressing appreciation for the artwork, anticipation for Majora's Mask, and interest in Card Hero. The top right text indicates a large number of high-quality illustrations have been sent in by readers. One illustration appears to feature a character named Rebecca. This page is a fan art section called Mario Parent and Child Guardian Corps, with the theme of Spring. It showcases illustrations from fans featuring various Nintendo characters. There's art of an elf-like girl, possibly from Zelda, holding an egg, and another Zelda-themed picture of a boy resembling Link with a tanuki in a spring scene. A Kirby-themed artwork shows Kirby and Mario characters on a cloud, praised for capturing the spring spirit. Other illustrations include a boy and dog in a flower-filled setting, characters from Ganbare Goemon in school uniforms, the Donkey Kong family enjoying bananas, a cute pink Mew hiding in pink flowers, and a Goemon character in an action pose. Finally, there's a peaceful scene of Pikachu having tea under a cherry blossom tree. There are also fan letters expressing appreciation for the magazine and the fan art, with one mentioning wanting to make a poster. A section features drawings from children under 10 years old, including a drawing of Mario painting, Link with another character, and a colorful drawing of Kirby's face. This page showcases a collection of fan art submissions from readers, themed around Nintendo 64 games. You can see various illustrations, including characters from Earthbound, Mother 2, with Ness, Paula, and Jeff. There's also a cute Kirby drawing, and several Zelda-themed artworks, one depicting Link, and another with a flower fairy Link. Mario Golf is represented with a golf ball-themed artwork, and there is also art based on Zelda, Ocarina of Time featuring Ganondorf. Other artworks include a night scene with Kirby, a surf-themed Zelda art, Link with a dog, a sailboat scene, a grown-up and kid version of Zelda, and Kirby with friends. Finally, there are more unique illustrations like a caution sign featuring Link, and Zelda and Link at a masked ball, showing the creative interpretations of Nintendo characters in games by fans. This page presents the Maniac Squad and 4-panel manga corner sections showcasing reader-submitted content. In the Maniac Squad section, there are 3 4-panel manga strips. The first features a plump red character, resembling Mario's form, interacting with a green parody of Luigi and a small pink blob in a humorous exchange. The second comic depicts a Zelda-like character, and the red blob again, engaged in a strategic discussion. The third strip stars Kirby and a Waddle Dee type enemy, humorously revolving around Kirby's eating habits when they go to eat together, then showing Kirby eating alone. The 4-panel manga corner features a comic strip with a Lizalfos-like enemy from Zelda, navigating a simple maze, creating humor from its struggle. The Are You Okay Gorilla section shows reader-submitted gorilla illustrations, including Pikachu-like gorillas and a businessman gorilla with the phrase, "Do you like rye gorilla?" Finally, this month's Level Up Special Promoters lists reader names categorized by rank and school, likely acknowledging active participants within the magazine community. The Illustration Recruitment Box is a call for reader submissions of illustrations, fan letters, and 4-panel manga, providing guidelines for participation. This page is a cheat code special feature for GoldenEye 007 on the Nintendo 64. It's part of a Dream Technique section of the magazine focusing on GoldenEye 007 Special Big Cheat Code feature. The page shows screenshots from the game and lists cheat codes categorized into Invincible Mode, All Weapons Mode, Maximum Ammo Mode, Invisible Man Mode, and Wireframe Mode. Each cheat code is presented as a sequence of button presses, likely for the Nintendo 64 controller. The text describes these as Enjoyment Mode unlock commands that can be entered during the game. It explains that these codes unlock various gameplay options and are activated by inputting the correct sequence. There's also mention of Nintendo of America official information, suggesting these are officially recognized cheats. This page is a cheat code page for unlocking all stages in the N64 game GoldenEye 007, excluding the hidden stages Aztec and Antenna, which are unlocked by completing the game on hard difficulty. It explains that by entering the listed button commands in the stage selection screen, players can unlock all 17 stages and also automatically clear the easy difficulty. It's important to enter the commands in the correct order of the stages to succeed. The page displays a list of 17 stages, including Chemical Plant, Escape, Snowfield, Underground Base, Silo, Statue Park, Cruiser, Military Warehouse, City, Station, Military Train, Jungle, Secret Base, Pump Facility, and Antenna, each with a sequence of 10 button combinations needed to unlock them. An image shows gameplay from GoldenEye 007. This page is all about cheat codes for the N64 game GoldenEye 007. It's showcasing the Enjoyment Mode with 20 different cheat options that can be unlocked using button combinations. These modes offer gameplay modifications like Invincible Mode, All Weapons Mode, Invisible Man Mode, Unlimited Ammo, and some fun ones like DK Mode, which makes heads big, and Tiny Bond mode. There are also weapon-specific modes such as Both Hands R Launcher and Both Hands Laser Gun, along with various gameplay tweaks like Turbo mode and Slow Enemy mode. The page details the button inputs required to activate each of these modes within the game's menu to unlock these special features. The next page is a collection of tips and tricks for various N64 games. For Biohazard 2, known internationally as Resident Evil 2, there's a cheat command to become invincible during the loading screen. For Kirby 64, the Crystal Shards, there are several tips. One discusses leveling up in minigames by repeatedly clearing the weak level to unlock normal difficulty. Another tip highlights using the Ice and Spark ability mix in the refrigerator stage to recover health by eating the food that flies out. A final Kirby 64 tip mentions riding on Waddle Dee's head in the Waddle Dee ropeway stage, though it's noted as having no real purpose, but fun to try. For Itoi Shigesato's #1 Bass Fishing Definitive Edition, a tip reveals that if you enter nothing as your name at the start of the game, your name will become whatever is fine. Finally, for Card Hero on the Game Boy, tips for Kachinuki Battle in the Battle Center are provided, explaining how to select and use decks. Several N64 games are anticipated. Mother 3. Pig King's Last Stand, an RPG from Nintendo, is expected in 2000. Super Mario RPG 2, another Nintendo RPG, is planned for summer 2000. Fushigi no Dungeon, Furai no Siren 2 Demon Invasions. Siren Castle, an RPG from Chunsoft and Nintendo, is also slated for summer 2000, featuring dungeon exploration and castle building. Conker's Quest, an action-adventure game by Rare, lacks a release date. The Legend of Zelda: Majora's Mask, an action-adventure game from Nintendo, will be released on April 27, 2000. Doraemon 3, an action-adventure game from Epoch Company, is planned for 2000, featuring Doraemon and voice recognition. Chanbara Fighter from Bottom Up is likely cancelled. Biohazard 0, Resident Evil 0, by Capcom, has no set release date. Finally, Super Black Base 64, a simulation game from Starfish, is expected in summer 2000. This article highlights a range of N64 games, both upcoming and recently released. Nintendo is developing Panel de Pon 64, a puzzle game, and Mario Tennis 64, a surprise tennis game released on July 21st, featuring exciting gameplay and possibly Waluigi. Other Nintendo titles include Perfect Dark, a first-person shooter, and Excitebike 64. Racing games include Slippy Radio Control Boat and Rev Limit. Konami released Jikyu Powerful Pro Yakyu 2000, a baseball game, and is developing Ganbare Nippon Olympic 2000. Pisco's Bass Rush, a fishing game, was released in April. Culture Brain's Ultra Baseball Jitsumebon 64 has uncertain development status. Victor Interactive Software released Nushitsuri 64 Shiokaze ni Note, a fishing game. Finally, Dubutsu Banchao, from Develop/Saru Brunei, is an intriguing etc. game with an uncertain release. This page is an advertisement for a Mario and Luigi Brother Teleka telephone card set. It's a campaign where 500 people can win a set of 2 telephone cards, one featuring Mario and the other Luigi. The campaign celebrates the Strongest Brothers' birth anniversary and is a joint project between 64Dream and Nintendo Stadium. The text encourages Nintendo fans to apply by sending a postcard with their details by May 20th to win one of the 500 sets. This page is an advertisement for a Zelda Teleka card giveaway. It celebrates the success of The Legend of Zelda: Ocarina of Time and promotes the upcoming release of The Legend of Zelda: Majora's Mask. You can apply to get a Zelda Teleka card by sending in an application with unused 800 yen postage stamps for each card you want. The deadline for applications is May 20th. The page also shows images of Link, Princess Zelda, Skull Kid, and Epona. This page is a Reader's Prize present from 64Dream magazine. It highlights a variety of Nintendo 64 and Game Boy Color prizes. For the Nintendo 64, there's a clear blue console, controller packs, and N64 software sets, which include popular titles like Super Mario 64, Mario Kart 64, Wave Race 64, Star Fox 64, and Donkey Kong 64. Individual N64 games Daikatana and Gauntlet Legends are also up for grabs. For Game Boy Color, there are original Game Boy Color consoles and a limited edition Midnight Blue version, alongside Game Boy software sets featuring Pokemon Green, Pokemon Blue, Pokemon Yellow, and Kirby's Dream Land. Other prizes include a GB memory cartridge for software writing, an American edition strategy guide for the Pokemon trading card game on Game Boy, a Liberation Front bandana, Pokemon Kids Series 2 figures, a Pokemon GB mini carry bag, and a Pokemon collection file. The page mentions the application deadline is May 19, 2000, with winners announced in the August issue of 64Dream. This page is a reader questionnaire for 64Dream magazine, asking for feedback on the current issue and readers' mobile phone usage. The questionnaire includes lists of games in Table 1 and Table 2. Table 1 features games such as Mario Tennis 64, Kirby 64, The Crystal Shards, Resident Evil 0, GameCube Powerful Pro Baseball 2000, The Legend of Zelda, Majora's Mask, and several Japan-exclusive titles like Mysterious Dungeon, Shiren the Wanderer 2, Doraemon 3, Nobita's Town SOS, Idiosuke's Mahjong School for the 64DD, and Card Hero. Table 2 lists upcoming or interesting N64 titles, including Excite Bike 64, Conker's Bad Fur Day, Perfect Dark, Viewpoint 2064, Mario Artist, Polygon Studio for the 64DD, and Mario Tennis 64 again. Japan-only titles listed are Ultra Baseball Jitsume Band 64, Ganbare Nippon, Olympics 2000, Kyojin no Doshin Kaiho Sensen, Chibiko Chikun, Contemporary Great Strategy, Ultimate War, Soundmaker, Super Mario Bass Fishing, Super Mario RPG 2, Rev Limit, Wipeout 64, and several tentative 64DD titles like DTDD, DD Sequencer, and Designmon DD. Notably, Mother 3, Pig King's Final Chapter, which was ultimately cancelled for the N64, is also mentioned. The page also announces the winners of the 64Dream April Present giveaway, listing names and prefectures of the recipients. Finally, there is an article titled Correct Modem Connection Method, providing instructions and reassurance about connecting a modem for online services, mentioning the need for NTT permission and web page access. This page is the front page for the July issue of 64Dream magazine, releasing on Saturday, May 20th, for 490 yen. The next menu section highlights the planned content, featuring guides for Majora's Mask and Power Pro baseball games. Previews for Mario Tennis 64, Paper Mario, and Shiren the Wanderer are also coming. Readers can look forward to articles on Zelda merchandise and developer interviews. The editor's voice section includes comments from the editors who appreciate reader feedback on their Zelda, Ocarina of Time, and Kirby's Dream Land 3 articles. They mention collaborations with Nintendo Station and share thoughts on editorial life, technology, and attending game events. The page also lists the staff members of 64Dream, covering roles from publishing and production to editorial, design, photography, and illustration. There's a small Mario and Luigi comic strip about world peace, and contact details for the editorial team and business inquiries. This page is an advertisement for The Legend of Zelda, Majora's Mask, on the Nintendo 64. It highlights the game's story of Link getting lost in a mysterious world called Termina, which is doomed to be destroyed by the moon in 3 days. The advertisement emphasizes that this Zelda game retains the series' core gameplay, while introducing new elements like masks, the moon, time manipulation, and strange encounters. It also mentions that the game requires the memory expansion pack to play. The release date is listed as April 27th, Thursday. There are screenshots showing gameplay and characters. The advert also details pricing for the game and a memory expansion pack bundle. This page advertises the Game Boy Color game Ojiarumaru, Tsukiyo ga Ike no Takaramono, which translates to Ojiarumaru, Treasure of Tsukiyo Pond at Moonlight Night system. This title is compatible with all Game Boy systems and is set to feature communication battles via link cable. The game boasts over 100 events and more than 60 characters from the anime series. Screenshots highlight in-game graphics, mini-games, and character interactions. Published by SXS, this game was planned for a Japan-only release in early summer of 2000 and priced at 3,980 yen.